I will explain how to knit the heel of socks. There are various ways to knit the heel, but this video will show you how to use Japanese short rows. I explained the short rows in detail in the previous video, so please see that for the basic knitting method. First, let's look at the overall structure of the sock. The basis of socks is a cylinder. Based on this, the socks are made by knitting the opening with ribbing, closing the toes, and making the heel. There are both patterns, starting from the opening and knitting to the toe, or starting from the toe and heading to the opening, but making the heel in the middle is the same. To make a heel with short rows, combine two trapezoids to knit a three-dimensional structure. By incorporating this structure in the middle of a straight cylinder, the knitted fabric can be bent. Let's look at how to knit the heel a little more concretely. Temporarily hold half of the stitches to insert the heel in the middle of the tube. Knit the heel on the other half. As a rough flow, first make a trapezoid of the type that shrinks by Japanese short rows, and erase the gaps. Next, we will make a trapezoid of the type that spreads by Japanese short rows. After making the heel in this way, return the rested stitches and knit the cylinder again. There are two important points. The first is that the structure of short rows is not symmetrical. It's easy to imagine a pyramid-shaped structure, but in reality, it is knitted in a reciprocating manner, so there is a one-step shift between the left and right. Starting from the center, one round trip on the left side and one round trip on the right side. Remember, this is one set. The second point is the gap erasing that is performed when the resting stitches are returned and knitted for one round after knitting the heel. There is no problem if the left side is knitted in the same way as before. What you need to pay attention to is the place where you knit the two stitches together on the right side of the knitted fabric. In the short rows part, we knit it back and forth, but only this row goes around the cylinder and knit the two stitches together, so the knitting method is slightly different. Normally, if you purl the two stitches together, yarn over stitch will appear on the front side of the knitted fabric. Therefore, here, after changing the order of stitches, knit the two stitches together. However, it can be difficult to change the order. In that case, insert a needle knitwise on the right stitch, move it to the right needle once, make a knit on the yarn over stitch, and then cover it with the transferred stitch. The final structure is the same even when knitted in this way. Now that you know the points, let's take a closer look while actually knitting. As an example, let's knit the heel into a cylinder with 36 stitches per lap. Knit the heel on half of the knitted fabric and let the other half rest. The heel is knitted with 18 stitches, 9 stitches on each side, centered on the beginning of row. Thread the remaining 18 stitches with a suitable thread and remove them from the needle. First, knit Japanese short rows, leaving 2 stitches for each row. Knit 7 stitches on the left side, make yarn over stitch and slip stitch, and return to the center. Knit 7 stitches on the right side, make yarn over stitch and slip stitch, and return to the center. This is one set. In the next row, we knit 5 stitches and turn back, leaving the yarn over stitch and slip stitch and the next stitch. Since the yarn over stitch is for knitting together in the end, it may be easy to count that the slip stitch and the next stitch are left. Similarly, in the next set, we will knit 3 stitches and turn back. Excluding yarn over stitch, the number of stitches in the final row is 6 in total on the left and right. When knitting the heel, reduce the stitches in this way until the number of stitches is about 1/3 of the stitches of the base. I will erase the gaps here. While knitting yarn over stitch and the next stitch together, knit to the end. Make yarn over stitch and slip stitch at the edges, return to the center, and erase the gaps on the right side as well. When knitting the 2 stitches together on this side, do not forget to change the order of stitches before knitting. Next, we will knit the second half of Japanese short rows. The number of stitches is the inverted version of the first half part. Knit 3 stitches on the left side, make yarn over stitch and slip stitch, and return to the center. Knit 3 stitches on the right side, make yarn over stitch and slip stitch, and return to the center. Next, while performing gap erasing, knit 5 stitches on the left side. Knit the right side in the same way. When the part of knitting 7 stitches and returning to the center is finished, the short rows are completed. Return the resting stitches and knit the cylinder around. First, on the left side of the knitted fabric, knit yarn over stitch knitted in the last row of short rows together to erase the gap. Then knit the yarn over stitch at the end together to erase the gap with the resting part. Slip the yarn over stitch to the next needle and knit with the next stitch together. Knit the instep and go around the cylinder. Even at the boundary on this side, we knit 2 stitches together, but for that purpose, move the last stitch of the instep to the next needle. The point is how to knit this stitch and yarn over stitch together. If you knit the 2 stitches together as it is, yarn over stitch will appear on the front side of the knitted fabric, so change the order before knitting. If it is difficult to change the order, temporarily move the right stitch to the right needle, make a knit on the yarn over stitch, and then cover it with the right stitch. Knit the yarn over stitch at the end of the short rows in the same way. Be careful as these 2 places are special. In this way, the heel was completed by going around the cylinder. Even if you know each movement, it is easy to get confused if you try it continuously, so please practice it once. Now, from here, I will give a supplementary explanation about short rows. In this example, we made a diagonal line like this by doing short rows that leaves 2 stitches. In some cases, you may want to make this angle gentler or steeper. If you want to make the angle gentle, you can increase the number of stitches left. On the other hand, if you want to make a steep angle, you can reduce the number of stitches left, but you need to be careful here. Earlier I left yarn over stitch, slip stitch and the next stitch. You can make the angle steeper by leaving only yarn over stitch and slip stitch, but the stitch knitted together with yarn over stitch will be the lower slip stitch. Slip stitch tend to stretch vertically, so this will make the stitch larger than usual. Especially when this structure is continuous, the discomfort of the knitted fabric is easily noticeable. Therefore, there is also a pattern in which the slip stitch part is blended by alternately arranging the row that leaves 1 stitch and the row that leaves 2 stitches. This is the explanation of how to knit the heel. If you can understand the basic structure, you can handle various patterns with different numbers of stitches and rows without any problem. I think the heel is the most difficult part of socks, so I hope it helps you learn this. Thank you for your viewing.